This is Mighty CS Man. I teach a complete curriculum in Java programming using the Building Java Programs book and its accompanying Practice It website. See my week 1 orientation for how to get set up on Practice It. This week we are looking at exercise 5.24 isAllVowels. Chapter 5 is all about indefinite loops. And this is not the world's most perfect problem because it's not necessarily using indefinite loops, but I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and do indefinite loops. Now, those of you who have been following along with my other work in this chapter might remember this problem. Self-check 5.17 contains, and this was the incorrect code here, where going and looking at this loop here, there's a for loop looking at each character, and then it was flagging every character as true or false. And it had a similar error to the problem that you would encounter if you tried to do the same thing here, isAllVowels. So you could use a for loop, but I'm going to encourage you not to. The reason why is a for loop is a definite structure, whereas this chapter is all about indefinite loops. Okay, so let's take a step back and look at what are we given, where are we trying to go, and what tools do we have. So we are given a string s. Okay, so that's what we're given. We're starting with the string, so we know we're going to need to process that. And where we want to go is we want to return a value, simple value, true or false. Okay, so this all involves Booleans, which we learned about last chapter. So we're gonna, well, right away we should know that we're gonna have to have a Boolean variable in here and be updating that variable. Okay, so we're testing whether every character is a vowel. Okay, so remembering the work from self-check 5.17, we know that we can write a loop, and we know that we can check each character, right? Here's a loop, and using each character we can do the char at, right? So we know we've got some stuff there. But let's figure out how we can do it using indefinite loops. So indefinite loops are typically of the form do something while, okay? So in a way, this is actually a Sentinel loop. In this chapter, you should be thinking that everything is usually one of two things. It's either a Sentinel loop or it's a fence post loop. A fence post loop is a case where you've got n items and n-1 separators. No, there's nothing like that here. Or a Sentinel loop is where you're doing some process over and over again until you hit some Sentinel value. It doesn't maybe look like that because there's no user feedback, but that actually is the case here. This is a Sentinel loop. The question is, what is the Sentinel value? Okay, the Sentinel value it's a little bit different. First, we looked at a Sentinel value that was just a hard-coded number. Then we looked at a number that was input by the user. Or we looked at a number that was generated by a random number. But now we're looking at a complete method, okay? We have to figure out whether the character, I'll just say char, is not a vowel. Okay, because if the character is not a vowel, we can stop. Okay, anytime you hit a character that is not a vowel, O, I are vowels, but N is not, you can stop right there. You don't need to process anything else in the loop. So it's actually a Sentinel loop where the Sentinel value is a whole method here, or a procedure, where the character is not a vowel. So let's think about how to do this now. Okay, so we've got a do, we've got a while. We know that in here we're going to have to look at the character. So it's going to involve something with s.char at of an index, right? We know that that's going to be involved. That tells us the particular character. And then for the while, let's think about this. So we've got a complex expression for the while. The while is not a vowel. That's what we're going to put in here. So you literally could make a function that will test this. In fact, I would suggest you do that. Public static Boolean is vowel character C And how can we tell whether a character C is a vowel? Well, let's think of, again, let's just repeat the same process. What are we given, where are we going, and what tools do we have available to us? Well, what we're given is a character here, okay? In fact, let's go ahead and put the code in here. No, you'll have to do that yourself, okay? But you've got the character at already here, okay? So, character C, we've got the character. We need to return a Boolean. Let's declare a Boolean here. And let's say that it's false to start with, okay? And I'm going to call it isVowel. That is clearer that it's actually a Boolean. Okay, so we're going to assume that it's false, and then let's set it if it's true. So what things do we have available to us to figure out whether that character is a vowel or not? Very simple one. You've got if statements, right? You can check whether if C equals A or C equals E, etc., etc. Okay, I'm not going to do it all. Is vowel equals true. Okay, so let's just assume that right there. And so we can use that isVowel function. Okay, we can put that right here. Okay, and then we've got a loop here. Now you're going to need to, and unlike a for loop where you've got that index automatically for you, you're actually going to have to set. Remember there was another problem. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is, self-check 5.2. You remember that we were converting for loops into while loops. But this tells you the process of what's the difference between a while loop and a for loop. So you remember, hopefully from that problem, that the difference between a for loop and a while loop is that you don't have the loop variable. So you're going to have to create your own loop variable, right? So you're going to have to define a loop variable. For the index, okay? You're going to have to give it initial value. And down here, you're going to have to actually increment the loop variable yourself. Okay, so you're going to have to increment that yourself. But other than that, that's exactly what a for loop does, okay? Except that this is guaranteed to do it at least once. And that's a good question. Do we want to do it at least once, okay? Because if we didn't want to do it at least once, we would have to reverse this. It would be while something, and then we would have the code in here. But in this case, we actually always want to evaluate it at least once, okay? So do while is the correct form. So we're going to look at the character. We're going to check whether it's a vowel, okay? And that should be enough to get you a solution. Now, I do want to point out that there's actually a more clever way of doing this. This isVowel here. You can actually replace, you don't have to write your own function. There actually is a function that will do this for you. Not specifically for vowels, but if you look carefully at the string class, you will see that there is a method that you could use to do this evaluation for you without having to list all those options. So that's where I'm going to leave the code for this one. You're going to have to figure out the rest. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe. I do have a complete curriculum on teaching Java programming through the Building Java Programs book and Practice It website.